EdenHill Communities is a nonprofit life plan community in the heart of New Braunfels, offering a full spectrum of senior living, from independent apartments and cottages to state-of-the-art healthcare and nursing.
With so many of our citizens facing a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease or different dementias, memory care is an important focus here on the EdenHill campus. We know that the dementia journey can be long and arduous, so we offer a full continuum of care to families facing the diagnosis. Our physician-led support group is a safe space for caregivers to share their experiences and get expert advice. Residential care at the EdenHill campus runs the gamut from memory care assisted living to full nursing care in our Willows program. At EdenHill Communities, we stand at your side. We offer resources and support for wherever your journey takes you. Your donations help support our community outreach and expand our memory care programs. We greatly thank you for your generosity.
For more information, visit edenhill.org or make an appointment with one of our expert staff. EdenHill Communities, the height of senior care in New Braunfels.
So glad y'all are all here this morning. We're going to resume now. My name is Sarah Curry, and it's my honor to serve as chaplain for the EdenHill Communities, which means that I'm in the position of hoping to help provide spiritual support in whatever forms that may need to take for our residents, our family members, and for our community. And I'm currently serving right now in that capacity as a staff liaison to our Wednesday monthly Alzheimer's support group, among other things. So I, along with our team, are so delighted that you're here and to be part of your support system and your learning journey. Now I'm happy to present to you two of our team members. Our next two presenters are ladies with combined experience in the field of over 30 years in healthcare and senior services. Dina Krozik and Terry Jackson have expertise that spans the fields of home health care, senior daycare, durable medical equipment, geriatric psychiatric services, assisted and independent living management, as well as support group facilitation. So I invite you now to join them for a deep dive into memory care supports and their costs.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, and we're going to jump right in. Much of what we are going to reference today is we put together a flyer for you to be able to take home, and we have all of the different supports and their costs spelled out on one side. On the other side, we talk about a variety of different options that you may not have thought of when you're thinking about paying for memory care supports. So for anyone who is experiencing memory loss or has a loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia, you're probably aware of the really long-term nature of this disease. It is a true journey, and it takes different levels of support at different levels of the disease progression. So kudos for you coming here today. This is so important to plan ahead, to get education and information, to help you navigate this journey with some feeling of empowerment. The worst time to make decisions is when you're in the middle of a crisis. And we at EdenHill often field those phone calls when people, a caregiver will call us and they are experiencing their own health crisis and they suddenly can no longer take care of their loved one, or the loved one gets to a point where there's a dramatic change and they are no longer safe and well at home. So people call us, they say, I'm ready to place my loved one. They are shocked, both at the costs, and they're shocked that Medicare is not going to pay for these long-term care costs. So, our goal here today is twofold. One, that we try to make you as aware as possible of all the different supports out there, what those costs are, and a greater awareness of where you can turn in the community to help with some of those finances. So resources for folks needing memory care range from free, with events like today. Again, I'm glad you're here to take advantage of that, all the way up to several $1,000s a month in terms of care. So we're going to get started walking through what those processes are. And do we have our PowerPoints ready? Oh, good. And here's our clicker. Okay. And Dina is going to get started. Dina Krofchuk is going to discuss just what the different memory supports are. And I'll try to do the slides for her as she's presenting. Thanks, Dina.
I hope y'all can see me over this. First of all, I'm going to go a little off script right here. Just to all the caregivers in the audience, I just want to say I'm giving you a shout out. That's a tough job. What you do makes a difference. So first of all, I'm going to talk about free services. Those are always great, right? Free. So there's things like caregiver support groups and caregiver circles, which we have both at EdenHill. They're open to the public. And you're welcome to come if you want more information about those. You can, well, they're actually on a little card right in front of you. And then there's organizations like Alzheimer's Texas, the Alzheimer's Association. Those are free. They have a lot of free resources and educational materials that you could find very valuable. And they can kind of help you with education. Then there's events like this, symposiums and things where you can gather information and learn about more resources. And again, that's all free, so take advantage of them. The other thing is friends and family. When you have a friend or a family member that tells you or asks you, what can I do? How can I help? Take them up on that. As a caregiver, you need that. They're offering. They wouldn't offer if they didn't want to. And I suggest that you have a list of things that might be helpful to you. Maybe it's running errands. Maybe it's bringing a meal, or maybe it's sitting with your loved one for an hour. And if you have a list that way, when they ask you, you don't do the deer in the headlights thing and like, oh, I'm fine, I got it, no problem. You need help. Take them up on that. So then the next thing would be personal assistant services, which is like an in-home caregiver service. And I'm not even paying attention to the slides, so hope she keeps up with me here. And that is when you have a trained person come into your home, and they will help with activities of daily living. Things like showering assistance, cooking, they can run errands, just those things, those day-to-day activity things. One thing they cannot do is medication management. I get asked that all the time. They can't manage any meds. And the cost on that can range from $15 to $40 an hour. If you bundle, it can be less per hour. So let's say you have them come in for 3 hours once a week instead of 3 separate hours. You usually get a better hourly rate. And who pays for that? That's private pay. That is you. Or some long-term care policies will pay for that. You need to check your own policy. Or VA aid and attendance sometimes will cover those costs. So that would be something to look into. Okay, so our next is going to be home health. Home health is usually prescribed, or it is always prescribed by a physician, and that's going to be PT, OT, speech therapy, nursing, or wound care. And this is typically short term. They come in for an hour, 2 hours, do their medical services, and then they step out. And it's normally, like I said, it's short term. It's only for weeks or possibly a few months. It doesn't go on and on and on. That is paid for by your Medicare or your insurance. So it's not necessarily an out-of-pocket cost to you unless you have, like a copay. Then there's respite care, okay? Respite care is when someone either is when you take your loved one to a place like a adult daycare, or you can take them. A lot of assisted livings offer respite care. We do at our community. And it gives you as the caregiver a break. You can do a day respite or you can do an overnight respite. And people will utilize that when they want to go on vacation where their loved one will stay overnight. The cost for that would be like $74 per day. That's the average. Overnight, of course, is more. It's closer to the $200 range. Who pays for that? You do. Again, that's private pay. Some long-term care policies will pay for it, or the Area Agency on Aging has funds that they set up each year to provide respite care for people. They have limited funds, so if you're going to want to do that, I always say try to do it at the beginning of the year because that's when they still have their full pocket of funds. Okay? Also, we do have a adult daycare here. It's called Camp Cummings in New Braunfels. If you're looking, and it's in your notes if that is something that you would like to take advantage of. And then we move to assisted living and memory care. This is residential where your loved one would go to and stay there 24 hours a day. It's I'm going to say all-inclusive in that you go there and they provide the meals. There's trained staff there who they're trained to work with people with dementia, so they know how to communicate with them. They know which activities are appropriate for them. And that ranges, or the average is about $52.50 per month. And again, you're going to say, who pays for that? You do. That's a private pay. Some long-term care policies will pay for it, and VA aid and attendance sometimes will pay for that as well. Skilled nursing is your next step, and that is skilled care where you have a physician, you have nurses. That is what I'm going to call almost like total care. All the meals, everything is included. They have the activities and that type of thing in there. That is also private pay. So that's you again paying for that. That ranges from anywhere from almost $8,000 to $9,000 depending on private or semi-private rooms. Some long-term care policies again will pay for that. Medicaid will pay for skilled nursing for your loved one. But most communities are very limited on the number of beds or rooms that they have where they accept Medicaid. And the reason for that is the reimbursement from Medicaid in the state of Texas is the lowest for any state. And as a facility, you can't fill your rooms with Medicaid reimbursement. You can't make it on that. The next thing is hospice, and this is, so I do the caregiver circle, and I always tell everybody who comes, don't be afraid of hospice. Hospice can be your friend. Hospice is when you go from curative care to palliative care, and hospice can be so helpful and beneficial to you when you have a loved one who is needing care. They can provide medical care, nursing. They have assistants that can come in and help with the bathing. They can do medication management. So that is something you'd want to look at. And that is paid through your insurance or your Medicare. They will pay for that. And I really want to encourage you to reach out to your hospice company. They can also provide respite for you and counseling if you want that, if you're having a hard time dealing with what's going on or your loved one is. So it's a great service. And that is all I have to say.
I want my glasses.
Oh, I have mine.
Thank you, Dina. And we did purposefully run through that pretty quickly. We have all of that information, as I said, on the handout, and we will be available. If you have any questions for more details, we are available at the EdenHill table. We've got Hope Hospice and Altus Hospice. We've got both caregiver services here, caring senior service, AA care services. We purposefully brought these vendors in for you to be able to talk with them about prices and support. So please, they're here, and talk with them while they're here. I'm going to focus more on, so how do you afford it? Typically, people use a wide array of combined assets from their own savings, retirement accounts. They can use life insurance policies, home equity. It truly ends up being a combination of resources. A lot of people don't think much about the long-term care long-term care insurance. Anyone have long-term care insurance here? And if so, kudos to you. It is harder and harder. People my age and younger, I'm hearing agents say it's not even going to be an option in the future. Long-term care insurance policies can be phenomenal. They also vary greatly from policies that you pay a lot into and don't get a lot out of. I've seen where they pay from everything from caregivers who come into the home. They will pay for skilled nursing later in life, as well as assisted living. The only way to truly know what your insurance policy covers is by reading it. If it's confusing, call the agent. If that's still confusing, call we've got an attorney here, an elder law attorney. Too many people don't take advantage of what's in the policy that they're paying for. So please look into it, call the agent, talk to elder law attorneys so that you actually get what you're paying for. Veterans benefits. A lot of people don't know how supportive the VA benefits can be as well. There are generally two types of veterans benefits. One is called VA aid and attendance, and the other are homebound benefits. We put it in your handout, but please, if you live in the county and you want more information, contact these folks. There are certain qualifications to see whether you can get the aid and attendance benefits, and it includes a variety of things. And the way that it works is folks who have a VA pension, you'll submit this application and the Veterans Department will determine if you're eligible or not, and if so, they will determine the amount of money that you will get in addition to your current pension. It's a great option. When you turn in the application, the things they're going to be looking for are, do you need physical help? So do you need help with the bathing, grooming, dressing, all of the caregiver type services? Or are you having to stay in bed much of the time because of an illness? They will also add additional benefits if folks have very severe visual limitations. So again, fill out the application. You may be eligible for thousands of more dollars a month than you're even aware of at this point. Besides the VA aid and attendance, there's also home housebound benefits. And again, those are for folks either at home or in nursing homes who are confined to the home for the majority of time due to a disability. Okay. There is also life insurance options. People typically think of life insurance as something that they're happy to leave to their survivors. And again, for folks who have good life insurance policies, kudos for thinking ahead, but it may be time to look at what options your life insurance policy might have to be able to pay for memory care supports. Some folks just sell the policy outright and use those funds towards memory care. There are also options for you to take a loan against the cash accumulation that you've already got in your life insurance policy. Some folks will convert that long-term care policy into a policy that pays towards long-term care payments. So Another option is just to cash it out and get a new policy that would cover long-term care. So some interesting options that people play with and figure they'd rather use those monies rather than having it for survivors so that they can provide good memory care for their loved one. Finally, home equity. It's easier when we're talking with adult children of parents who are in need of memory care. A lot of times the parent needs to move anyway, so selling the house is a great option and using those proceeds towards it. Gets a little more complicated when there's a spouse who intends to stay in the home and the loved one needs to have residential care, which, as you saw, is thousands of dollars a month. There are reverse mortgages that people use frequently. If you don't know what that is, it's taking a loan against the accumulation in your home equity. So if you have a home that's worth $300,000, you've paid off all but $50,000 of it, you've got $250,000 that you can get a reverse mortgage loan that spends down that equity. So obviously then when you go to sell the home, that equity is more limited, but at least it's an option for folks who want to stay in the home and still need their loved one to go to residential care. Another option is called a bridge loan. This is another short-term loan that lenders will give when they see that assets are available. It bridges the gap until you can sell some of those assets, until the home gets sold. Bridge loans, again, are a good option if you do find yourself in a crisis situation where you need extra money and your home is worth it, but you just haven't sold it yet. So again, a variety of options. I am not the financial experts, but we do have folks who are. I would strongly encourage you again to visit. We've got Kristen Porter is an elder law attorney in town, and we send her a lot of referrals for folks who are finding themselves in need of help. So what are some of our tips for being a savvy consumer? First of all, beware of scams. And if something sounds too good to be true, it very likely is. It is just heartbreaking, the number of exploitation cases that happen on an annual basis for seniors. So please be cautious. It is worth your money to pay for licensed and accredited services, even if your neighbor down the street or someone from church offers to come in and help and I'll be your caregiver. Please be careful, because those folks aren't screened, they're not regulated, they don't have anyone coming in and surveying them. Just be careful about who you bring into your home. It's more surprising than you think who ends up being financially exploitive of folks when they know they're in a difficult position. Be aware of hidden costs. So when you're going to look for, especially in residential care, you want to, first of all, look at several different facilities so that you know what is best for your loved one. If your loved one is in the early stages of Alzheimer, go now, get their input, find out from them where they would feel most comfortable if residential placement becomes what's best for them. When you call around for pricing, some communities are all-inclusive, meaning if you go into assisted living, all of your medication, your care, if there is incontinence care needed, all of that is included in one price. Be sure and ask, do you have different levels of care? Because many communities do. So you may think, this is a break, I can afford this, but maybe the first level is an extra $250 a month for incontinence care, and then the next level is an extra $400 for medication management. And most people, by the time they need assisted living, they need all of that. So you may think you've got a good deal on a facility, but make sure you have asked what those levels of care are. Make sure you understand what they are. It still may be a great facility, and it may be the place you choose, but just don't go in and then get hit with costs that you weren't aware of. Another really important strategy is to bring someone with you when you are touring communities. We always laugh that a good salesperson can take you through a community and make sure you see what they want you to see and maybe not what they don't want you to see. So if you are going and touring a community, you can pay attention to the salesperson and have your friend or family member go with you to observe everything else. What does the care look like? Are the residents engaged with each other? Are there relationships that seem to be going on in the community? Are the staff members engaged, or are they sitting away and isolated? You want the best possible care for your loved ones, so bring someone with you when you're touring communities. The shared room option is really something to consider. Most people think they're doing best for their loved one, for their parent. If you take them to a community and they get their own bedroom, they get it all set up beautifully, that's not always in a person with advancing dementia, that's not always in their best interest. Sometimes it's much better to have a roommate, that there is ongoing socialization, as Meredith talked about before, that ongoing communication and socialization is critical. And it is often less expensive for you to pay for a semi-private room rather than a private room. So you are not selling your loved one short if you opt for them to share a room with somebody. You may really be doing what's better for them. Newer, bigger, shinier is not always better. Just like I feel a lot of the newer facilities really are marketed to people like me, who we are helping our parents find communities. Ask questions of the newer and the bigger and the better. A lot of them don't have semi-private rooms. They're all private rooms because they think that looks better and that's what people want. Find out about the stability of their management. How much staff turnover are they having? Again, there are no blanket statements here. There are some wonderful, bright, new, shiny facilities. There are others that don't look as good, but watch the care. That's what you really want to pay for when you're putting a loved one in residential communities. And finally, talk to experts in advance. I cannot congratulate you all enough for being here today. There are experts who are waiting for your phone call. They are already skilled in helping people who have had Alzheimer's and dementia. Now is the time to do it. Doing it in a crisis, you never are going to recognize all of the supports that are out there for you. So seek them out. Seek out financial planners, elder law attorneys. There are geriatric care managers in the community, and what those are like private social workers that you hire, and they have just a ton of resources at their fingertips. They'll know the different communities in town, they'll know the different hospice and home health agencies. It can be a nightmare trying to look into all of that on your own. So seeking out a professional geriatric care manager is a great option. There are also senior living locators, and we've got one of them with us today, Trinity Senior Services. Same thing. They form relationships with communities. They go in regularly. They check on them. They are going to help you find both a good fit and make a recommendation for what they consider to be a high quality care. So let me see how much time. Again, all of this information is there for you. Please know that you're not alone. While it can be challenging, there are so many resources and supports out there. Continue to get educated in advance so the decisions you made are well thought out and they're within your financial means. That's all we've got.